this question was put up as just a recap of distance. Do we have anyone who has made any progress so far? So you're going to need to find the distance of those 3 colored lines that I've highlighted. How are we going? The distance formula is up on the board, so we should be okay. Have we been managed to get any of these ones so far? I think I'm going to write over here. Then you might be able to see a bit better. So the distance of QR. Hello, 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 everyone. Okay. So when we're putting this into our formula, we're going to take our 2 different x values. So I'm going to say -2 minus 3 all squared plus, and then my y values. So 3 minus -2. So it's going to become +2 squared. And then when we get to this point here, we literally can chuck it into our calculator exactly like that. So I'm going to land up with -5 squared plus 5 squared, which gives me 5 root 5. So that is our distance of QR. 5 root 2, sorry. Hello. Can anyone tell me what form I have left this in, where I've left it with that root 2? What is that called when you leave your answer with a root? Yay! Nice job, Palesa. It's absolutely, it's surd form. So when the question says leave your answer surd form, that's all you got to do. Okay, so we have got the one distance. Let's calculate our next distance. Nice job, guys. Absolutely, surd form it is. Let's do the distance of QP. Okay, so again, we're just going to chuck in our square root sign. We're going to say -2 minus 0 all squared plus 3 plus 5, because it's minus -5. You're welcome to write minus and then -5 in brackets. Absolutely fine to do it like that. So we've got our square root sign. We've got -2 squared, and then we have got +8 squared. And that gives us 2 root 17. Okay, so we have got 2 of the sides done so far. The nice thing is that in analytical geometry, that's already 6 marks. This type of question would be 6 marks to get the 3 sides, and then you would get a mark for the perimeter. So it's 7 marks in total, which is awesome. Okay, last one is our distance of RP. So we're going to have 3 minus 0 squared plus -2 plus 5 squared. Chuck that into the calculator. So we're going to have 3 squared plus 3 squared. And that's going to give us 3 root 2. Sorry, my pen went traveling under my laptop. Okay, 3 root 2. Where do I go to from here if I'm looking for the perimeter of this triangle? I have got 3 different lengths. How do I finish off this question? Who has a suggestion for me? Yeah, that's it. And that's exactly it. It's all we got to do. Our perimeter, all we got to do is add them together. So our perimeter of our triangle is going to be 5 root 2 plus 2 root 17 plus 3 root 2. And we can put that into our calculator exactly like that. So 5 root 2 plus 2 root 17 plus 3 root 2. And we get the answer. We get a nice big answer. I'll write it out here so that you can see what it looks like. We get 2 root 17 plus 8 root 2. That's not a great answer, and they haven't asked it for surd form. So I think in this case, let's give it as a decimal. So we're just going to do surd to decimal, and we get 19,559. So 19,56. And there's our answer. Does anyone have any questions about what you're currently seeing on the board before we move into midpoint? This is your chance to speak up. Okay, just for those of you who arrived a little bit after I explained, I'm Teacher Jen. I'm just looking after you guys for tonight. Please feel free to ask whatever questions you have throughout the lesson. If you are too embarrassed to write them to the whole group, send them as a direct message to me. I will answer them, but I won't say your name, so you don't need to worry. Yeah, let's just have fun. So let's see what we can get through today. Please take a screenshot so that you have got record of this, and then we can get going into midpoints. Okay. All right. So lesson 2 of 6 of our analytical geometry. We have got the midpoint formula. Please, can you make sure you have got this written down somewhere important so that you have it as a way for you to check as we move through this lesson. It's a very important note down here. Note the midpoint formula gives us a new coordinate. It is not a value like a distance. And because it's a coordinate, we need an x coordinate and we need a y coordinate. Let's just sort of draw a little picture to say exactly what this means. If I have point A and I have point B, okay, and point A has values x1 and y1, and point B has values x2 and y2. All right. If I am looking for the coordinates of the midpoint, so exactly in the middle of A and B, that would be my midpoint. I could use this formula to find that out. So I add together my two x values and I divide it by 2, and I add together my two y values and I divide it by 2. Any questions before we try an example? No, it doesn't get more complicated than this. It is exactly as it is. The only thing that they can do to make it a little bit harder is by giving you coordinates of the midpoint or giving you one of the coordinates, and you've got to kind of work your way backwards. But we'll deal with all of that today, so you don't need to stress. Okay, let's do an example together. So let me pop these two up on the board at the same time. And if you are feeling brave, you're welcome to give the second one a go so long. What we've got is we've got a line with 2 coordinates. Okay, so I'm just going to draw this in so that you can see what's going on. We've got -4 and 4 as our 1 point. So let's just call this point A. Okay, and then we've got point B, which is 5 and -1. And we are looking for the coordinates of that midpoint. Okay. So midpoint means that both of those are identical to each other. So all we do is we take our x values and we add them together and divide by 2, and we take our y values and we add them together and divide by 2. So let's have a look. My x values, so let's just call this. So we're going to say our midpoint is equal to, now we're going to look at our x values. So I've got -4 plus 5 over 2. And then we look at our y values, 4 plus -1. So it's just going to be -1 over 2. And remember what I said earlier to coordinates. So we're going to put it in brackets because this is our x and this is our y. And then we just work it out. You can use your calculator or you can just work it out in your head. So we've got -4 plus 5, which is going to give us 1. So we're going to have 1 over 2 for our x value. And then for our y value, we're going to have 3 over 2 We're going to close off that bracket, and that is our final answer. How nice and easy is that? Is that not divine? Love midpoints. They're like marks you can just guarantee in your pocket. Okay, let's have a look at this one below. Let me draw this in again. So imagine we've got these two different points. So we've got 2 and 4, and we've got 1 and -3. And we are looking for this midpoint over here. Right, I'm doing exactly the same thing. So our midpoint is going to be equal to, I'm going to put our big brackets in here. I don't know if I left enough space for myself there. We'll have to see. 2 plus 1 over 2. Those are my x values. Now we look at our y values. 4 minus 3 over 2. And then we just give our answer. So we're going to have 2 plus 1, which is 3. So 3 over 2. And our green values, our y values, is 1 over 2. And that is our final answer. How does this feel? Can you give me an idea of 0 to 10? 0 being really, really hard, and 10 being super easy. Where are we on the scale for these questions? Yeah, good. See, that is what I was thinking. Beautiful. Nice. Okay, does that mean that I can start giving you some to do by yourselves? I'm saying yes, because 10s are solid. 8.89. So you can, Kat, you can leave them as fractions. Generally, when we're working with coordinates, we don't change them to decimals. We normally leave them as fractions. So that's the way forward. Cool. Okay. So let's give some of these a go. So what we've got here, let's see if we can get 100% for these questions. We've got point A and we've got point B. Point A is, oh goodness, that is not a 5. That is a weird S. Okay, we've got 5 and 0, that's point A. And then we've got point B, which is 1 and 4. And I am wanting to know what my midpoint is. Go. Tell me what my coordinates are. Let's see if we can get 100%. If you have questions, please feel free to ask them. Again, you can send them as direct messages if you're nervous. Yay, got our first answers coming in. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Remember to always show you're working. I know in some of these it's nice and easy, so it's easy to forget. Yeah, good job. You don't need that question mark. You're 100% right. So our midpoint's chilling over here. We'll have the coordinates 3 and 2. So if you got that, give yourselves a big applause, body badge. I don't know. Give yourself something that will make you happy. That was great. Okay, I'm going to move on to our second one. I'll try and leave this on the screen for anyone who is still working on it. There we go. Okay. Next one, you have got point A and point B. So point A over here is -2 and 9. And point B is -7 and 7. And I am looking for this midpoint in the middle. Try not get confused with the negatives. I know that they can be confusing sometimes. Just remember that if you're adding a negative, it just stays as a negative, if that helps. Ooh. Okay, got some answers coming in. Get a little bit of extra time to get this one done. Oh, we're getting some different answers. I like it. Keeps things spicy. Keep those answers coming. Okay. Midpoint equals -2 minus 7 over 2 and 9 plus 7 over 2, which is going to give us -9 over 2. So -9 over 2, and 9 plus 7 is 16. 16 over 2 is 8. So I think what happened is that some people, instead of taking the x's, so x1 and x2, they took the x1 and y1, for example. So they took the x's and the y's, which is a very normal mistake. Just be careful to always take your x's. You absolutely add. So let me show you what's happening and the reason why I didn't write the adding, because you absolutely are adding. I'm just going to do some highlighting over here. So those are my y's. So those are the ones I'm going to add together. And those are my x's. So those are the ones I'm going to add together. Okay. I'm going to have -2 plus, in brackets, -7. Okay. So those are my blues. And then my green, I have 9 plus 7 over 2. Now, because I have a negative and a positive, this positive and this negative just equals a negative. So that just becomes -2 minus 7. And that's why I wrote it as -2 minus 7. But you're absolutely right, you are adding. This is just if you skip that step. Great question, though. Good to ask. Always better to ask. Okay. This one, I am not going to give you a picture. I'm going to let you roll free with this one. So I want the midpoints. My coordinates are -1 and -6, and 3 and 0. And I am wanting the midpoint of those two. How much time at the end of the lesson do you normally get to get started on your quiz? So when do you normally get that link? It's like normally 10 minutes or 5 minutes. A few minutes. Okay, cool. Okay, we have got some answers coming. Great. Nice. Okay, got a different color working for us. So we're going to say our midpoint over here is our two x values. So this one and this one. So we're going to say -1 plus 3 over 2. And then we are going to look at our y values. So we're going to say -6 plus 0 over 2. And we get the glorious answer of 2 over 2, which is 1, and -6 over 2, which is -3. So those are my coordinates. You guys are smashing this. Good job. Okay, we're going to do one more like this, and then we're going to start looking if they've given us the midpoint. How do we work out the other end? Okay, so last one like this. And then we're going to work backwards. So yes and no. They generally won't just give you coordinates like this. They would more likely give you like some kind of triangle, like if this was P and this was -6 and -10, and then this was Q, they could say, what is the midpoint of PQ, for example, if we have the coordinates here as well. So it would more likely be like within a picture. But sometimes, yes, it is as easy as you've been given these two coordinates and you need to find a midpoint. And then sometimes you're given a midpoint and you have to find another coordinate, which is what we're going to do after this. Okay, nice. Let's start working this out. So we've got our midpoint is equal to our x values, -6. So again, this would be plus -2. So I'm just going to write -2 over 2 plus, oh, why am I writing a plus? I'm losing my mind. We do not want a plus. Insanity is happening over here. -10 minus 8 over 2. I'm going to close up that. And so we land up with -8 over 2, which gives us -4, and -18 over 2, which gives us -9. And so those are our coordinates. Nice job. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can get a couple of these in a screenshot if you would like it. And there's also some extra ones that you can practice, but I think you've caught onto this quite quickly. So I'm not going to make you do those extra ones. We're going to go on to something a bit different. But if you would like to take a screenshot, please feel free. And then you're also welcome to do those other ones in your own time. And then we're going to move on. I don't think you're also doing gradient formula today. I think it's just midpoint today. Just midpoint. Are you doing gradient formula in class? Are you struggling with it? Okay, so let's now imagine that we're doing something a little bit different. Let's now say we've got point A, we've got point B, and we've got point C. Okay, point B is the midpoint of AC. So that's important for us to know. That's what those little lines are telling us, though. We know the coordinates of A are, let's make this nice and easy. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Let's say our coordinates of A are 2 and 4. And our coordinates for B are, let's make it 6 and 8. And our coordinates for C are X and Y. Okay, so now we've been given the midpoint. We haven't been given our sides. How can we go about doing this? Does anyone have any suggestions? Try and remember the formula that we've been working with. So remember, I'll just pop that up here. So your midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Who thinks? Okay, that's a great start by separating x and y. I like that a lot. I like that. That's awesome. So let's have a look. Let's separate our x's and y's. So we've got x, x, and x. If I just look at those 3 purple values that we've highlighted now, how can I put them into this part of my formula? What would I do? Try and see what knowledge you have and where you would place things. Sure, I can absolutely repeat the question. So my question to you is, we've got these 3, so we've established we want to separate our x's and y's, okay? We've got these 3 values. We've got this 2, the 6, and then we've got this x. How could I put those into this first part of the formula to try and solve for x? So what value would I put here? What value would I put here? What value would I put here? Okay. Kat, that's great. Absolutely. How can I use the numbers that we're seeing on the board? Don't forget.
Okay.
Sorry, Kat, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So okay, it's okay. So we could say x of A.
Okay, so 2. Have I lost you? Let me try and help you out here. So I'm going to put my midpoint there first because that's what I have written on the left-hand side. That's the only reason, okay? My midpoint, x value, is 6. All right? My x1 value is 2. My x2 value is x. We don't know what it is. And then we're going to divide it by 2. Then it's just a simple equation. So I'm going to move this 2 up. So that's going to be 6 times 2 is equal to 2 plus x. So I have 12 is equal to 2 plus x. So what is x going to be equal to?
10.
Yes, good. X is going to be equal to 10. So now we know that that value is 10. Now, using that same logic, guys, I want you to try and think. How now could I find my y value? Exactly. It's like the inverse. Exactly. How could I find this y value with that same logic?
Ma'am, is our midpoint going to be 8?
Good. Okay, so 8.
Is equals to 4
Yeah,
plus y
good.
2
Over 2.
over
Good.
2.
Yeah.
And then cross multiply,
Okay.
and then you get 16 is equals to 4 plus y.
Good.
And then we transpose 4 and becomes a negative, giving us 10.
10.
4. 12.
Yes, there we go.
Yes.
12. Our y value is going to be 12. And then we're
Sorry,
done.
ma'am.
No, don't apologize. Thanks so much for answering. I love it. I love it when guys, like, good job. And you were brave. That's all we have to do, guys. So we take the midpoint and then we fill in what other information we don't have. So sometimes they may give you, like, this might be the unknown. So that might be X, but they'll give you this value. And sometimes this will be the unknown and they'll give you that value. But as long as we know how this formula works, we can always figure out whatever we need. So this is like your magic formula over here. If you just take your midpoint coordinate and you make it equal to the other 2 over 2, you can always figure it out. So this is probably a good place to take a screenshot, and then we're going to jump into some questions. I just need to, my dog is attacking something. I'll be 10 seconds. Okay. Cool. Let's move on down. Okay. So I find when it's like this, it can sometimes feel a little bit confusing, but if you draw a picture, it's not so bad. And remember, your picture doesn't have to be accurate. It's literally just a way for you to figure out what's going on. So if we look over here, they've told us we've got an end point and we've got a midpoint. So we know our one end point is -2 and 7. We know our midpoint, so that over there is 12 and -10. And then our other end point, we don't know. So we're going to call it X and Y. Okay. And just kind of by drawing it out, it makes it very clear as to what we're going to do and where we're going to put things. So using this information in this little picture you have in front of you, I would like you to find those values X and Y for me. And I'll help you draw the picture for the next one, and then I'm going to stop drawing so that you get practice drawing them yourselves. To think of it exactly the same way, let me do some highlighting for you for those who have never done this before and are feeling a little bit nervous, which is completely normal. We're making progress. How's it going? Good, bad, medium. Oh, okay, we're getting our first answers. I'm not going to say if it's right or wrong just yet. Okay. Give it a go. So I'm going to look at my x's first. So my midpoint is 12. My x1 is -2. My x2 is x. And I'm going to divide that by 2. So I'm going to land up with 24 is equal to -2 plus x. So 26 is equal to x. So that's my one value. Now we're going to have a look at our y's. So -10 is equal to 7 plus y over 2. -20 is equal to 7 plus y, which means y is equal to -27. And those are my coordinates. Nice job to everyone who got those. Please let me know if you have questions. If there's something you're not understanding, you need to let me know so I can help you out. No, it's totally normal to miss out the negative. Don't panic. It's a very, very normal mistake. Nice job, guys. Little brain buffs. Okay. All right, give this one a go. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I'm going to draw you a little picture. And then the next one, I'm letting you fly solo. Okay, so our midpoint is 10 and 14. Our one end point is 11 and 14. And our other end point, we don't know, is x and y. We got to figure it out. Good luck. May the odds be ever in your favor. Don't forget you're working. If you don't write it out, it's very easy to make mistakes with science. Yes, absolutely, you can try. Unmute yourself. Let's go. Or do you want to write it? Also fine. Okay. Yeah, you can totally write it out.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. Okay, tell me how we're going to work this out.
So for the first one, I said 10 equals 11 plus x over 2
Beautiful.
equals to 20 equals to 11 plus x.
Beautiful.
9 equals to x.
Yes, nice job. Perfect. Can you do your Y's for me?
I hadn't started, but we can
Okay,
go
no, it's
together.
okay. Yeah, we can do it together. That's cool. Okay, what do you think we
Okay,
should
so
write?
I think we should write 14
Yeah.
and then 14 again
Mm-hmm.
plus y.
Good.
Okay, can I just punch this over 2?
Good.
14, 28,
Good.
28 equals to 14 plus y.
Yep.
And then can I do this quickly?
14.
Someone
Wait,
snuck on
14,
in there.
14.
Absolutely. Why will we 14? Nice job. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Excellent. Take a screenshot if you would like. And I think we have time for one, maybe two, and then I'll give you your link for your quiz for tonight. Okay. Let me zoom on up. I think we can fit both of these. I'm going to leave both questions on the board so that if you have time, you can give both a go. And if you're struggling, you can just work on one. But I will give the answers to both of these before the end of the lesson. So give these two a try. I'm not going to draw anything for you. You're all on your own. Pushing my little birdies out the nest so you can fly. But remember, if you have questions while you're working on this, pop them through in the chat or send them as a direct message. I'll happily help you out. As a little side note to the question that came in earlier with parallelograms, the most important thing to remember with parallelograms, just going to write a little thing here on the left. If this does not interest you, please continue doing what you are doing on the board. If you have parallel lines, then your gradients are going to be equal. Okay, so what I mean by that is if you had a parallelogram like this and those two are parallel, then that gradient would be equal to that gradient. Okay, so that's one way we can prove that things are parallel. The other thing is that if we have perpendicular lines, their gradients are the inverse. So gradient 1 times gradient 2 is equal to -1. And that's useful for us if we have like a square or a rectangle. So if we had this gradient and we multiplied them together, we would get -1. It looks more complicated. Basically, it's like if I had one of them is a half and the other one is -2. That's what that looks. So it's just inverted, a negative. But if that was your question, hopefully that little quick knowledge dump will help you out. I'll leave it on the board for a couple minutes and then I'll take it off. Getting our first answers in, which I'm liking. Okay. Just going to start writing the first one up on the board. Yes, I can. Let me first go through this one. So we're going to have 6 is equal to 10 plus x over 2. 12 is equal to 10 plus x, which means x is going to equal 2. So we've got our 1 point. And then let's work out our next point. We're going to say 9 is equal to 12 plus y over 2. 18 is equal to 12 plus y, which means y is equal to 6. Okay, last addition for these parallelograms is if things are collinear, collinear is a fancy word for saying they're on the same line. That's what collinear means. So if I have point A and I have point B and they are on the same line, they are collinear. If they are collinear and they are on the same line, it means that they would have the same gradient because they're on the same line. Remember, mathematicians just like using fancy words. If you can make the fancy words into something a little bit simpler, do it. My dog is absolutely destroying a bucket hat behind me. I tried to save it, but it was already too late. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a couple more minutes for this second one up on the board. And then I will go through the answer. I'll give you your quiz link, and then you guys can turn your brains off for the day. Have a nice little relax. And then maybe we can have a funeral for my bucket hat. Yeah, they absolutely will, Kat. Did I miss out a negative? Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't think I wished I had any negatives. I thought I was going insane for a second. Okay, we've got negative 11 and 9. And our midpoint is 3 and negative 11. And our other endpoint is x and y. Okay. So let's start with our x's. Bloop, bloop, bloop. We're going to say 3 is equal to negative 11 plus x over 2. So 6 is equal to negative 11 plus x, which means x is equal to 17. Happy days. Let's have a look at our next one. For our y values, we're going to say negative 11 is equal to 9 plus y over 2. So negative 22 is equal to 9 plus y, which means y is equal to negative 31. And we're all done. Do you want to try another question sort of like this one? Or do you want to do a quick midpoint question? Or do you have any other questions before I give you a quiz link? Oh, I feel like I can hear you talking, but I can't hear you properly. Sometimes it's just the headset isn't connected properly. Okay, one more. Let's check in some negatives because negatives always throw people off. Let's do this one here. Let's do number 23. No, don't worry. Just make sure you're comfortable with your formulas. And honestly, everything comes down to gradient. Everything comes down to gradient. Just remember that parallel lines have the same gradient. Collinear points have the same gradient. Perpendicular lines are inverted and negative. And you know your distance formula. You'll be good with your midpoint formula. You'll be golden. Don't worry. Just trust yourself. Okay, let's have a look. Let's look at our x's first. Okay, so I'm going to say 10 is equal to -8 plus x over 2. So 20 is equal to -8 plus x, which means 28 is equal to x. We've got our x value. Let's have a look at our y value. I'm sorry about my dog. -7 is equal to -10 plus y over 2. Oh, goodness. -14 is equal to -10 plus y. So -4 is equal to y. And so I don't know when you're going to start with functions. I'm not too sure what the whole teaching schedule is because I just pop in when teachers need help. But I will make sure that your teacher on Monday lets you know so that you know what your plan is. Okay, let me quickly share the quiz link with you. This is yours. Da, 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 da. Oh, I'm about to just send it to one person and I want to send it to everyone. There you go. Okay, that's your quiz link. Good luck. Get doing it. You'll be great. Let's see. 28 and yeah, 28 is -4. That's correct. That's what's on. Is it not -24? Okay, so what happened is when you took this -10 over, you didn't change it to +10. So you wrote it as -14 minus 10, but it is a negative. So when it moves over, it becomes -14 plus 10, and that's why it becomes -4. How do we know which value to use for the midpoint? Because we are getting different values. So it doesn't matter which one of the sides. So for example, here, this just says this end point is -9 and 1. Oh, sorry, that's a different question. That's not going to help us at all. Let's just move that out of the picture. So this says that our end point is -8 and 10. So we know that that's one of our end points. And then it tells us over here that the midpoint is 10 and -7. So we know that that's our midpoint. And then our other end point is just going to be x and y